Hey everybody, so if you're watching this video, that means my second dose of the vaccine knocked me on my butt and I can't be with you in class today. Now, it also means you follow directions and you click the watch me first button. So we are off to a great start, guys. Next, what you need to do is the attendance tracker. It's the same thing you did Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. There'll be a question. Answer it. That's how I know to log you in for attendance, because yes, I still will be taking attendance. Then we have our warm-up review of the governor of Virginia. So all those hats and stuff you did, which you better have done because we're gonna have a quiz on it on Monday. So hats of the governor, the different roles the governor plays. For example, chief legislator, I want you to name them and explain them, okay? Name and explain in your warm-up for Thursday, Friday. Then we have two sets of notes we need to get through. They're not long, they're not hard, but it's mostly review because the way the lawmaking system in Virginia is, it mirrors the federal system, okay? Then we're going to do a review of federalism, and that's it. We'll go through the PowerPoints in this video, but it'll be your responsibility to fill out the single notes page. It's in Google Slides form, and then submit the notes page. Got it? So I'm going to bring up my first, we're going to do lawmaking in Virginia. The notes, that's what you'll write on, and this is what I'm going to go over, okay? I know this isn't fun necessarily, and I'll try to make it up to you guys when I come back, but this is the easiest, most straightforward stuff while we're all focusing and our attention's divided on all the changes and things that are going on. So this is just the simplest, straight to the point activity we can do, okay? So lawmaking in Virginia. Members of the Virginia General Assembly are elected to make state laws. Remember the General Assembly, the Virginia General Assembly, anytime we refer to the General Assembly in this class, remember the context, we are talking about the Virginia General Assembly. Sometimes we might just say General Assembly, the GA. Remember, it's made up of two houses, just like our Congress. It's bicameral, so two houses, the House of Delegates and the Virginia Senate. Elected officials in the Virginia General Assembly write laws and take action in response to problems or issues. So our General Assembly functions much like the Congress does on the US scale, but the Virginia General Assembly makes the laws just for Virginia. They don't apply to anywhere else but Virginia. And just like on a national level, at the state level, individuals and interest groups shape legislation. They're the ones who organize different groups of people to take specific action. Like the Sierra Club, for example, which is a very powerful, very nationally known, environmental conscious organization. It's an interest group, and they have chapters in each state that also rally their members to pursue environmental conscious legislation. Now, at the state level and the national level, there are two basically different scopes, what the national government takes care of and what the state government takes care of. So the primary issues in the legislative process at the state level are education, because they want to promote an informed and engaged citizenry. Cannot talk. And for example, they establish minimum standards for local schools. Now, in Virginia, we have the SOLs, the standards of learning. You may have heard of Common Core. That's a standard a lot of states have adopted, but Virginia does its own thing because it education is, in this country, a state and local issue. And I will tell you, the way we learn history, the way we learn social studies is a lot different than other places, especially early American history. Since so much happened in Virginia and we have this wealth of history, we focus very much on Virginia history, whereas other places like Oregon, who might not have that early revolutionary or colonial history, they don't focus on it. They're gonna focus on what's important to their state and more national-ish things. But we talk about Virginians a lot because there were so many of them. So, and also public health, to promote and protect the health of its citizens. That's why, in my opinion, the process of distributing, for example, the COVID vaccine was delegated to the states because it's always been considered a state issue. And I can tell you now, the way Virginia is doing the tiers and what, the priority groups, how we are getting registered for it is a lot different. I know I talk about Indiana a lot because that's where my best friend lives, but the way they're doing it is almost exclusively by age group. So it doesn't matter if you're disabled, no matter what your job is, you're going based on the decade you were born in, basically. Which here, they started off with healthcare workers, first responders, etc. And now we're in the group with like teachers and other essential workers, but also those at-risk groups. So for example, in this tier, we also have jails and migrant camps. And in the last tier with the doctors and nurses, it was nursing homes. Then we have the environment, just to protect natural resources. Now, one of the biggest issues in Virginia right now is offshore drilling. It's been going on for a long time. At some points, the federal governments have pushed for it, but because, again, this has always been a primarily state issue, it's stayed on the Virginia level. And you may hear, which I'm kind of excited about, seeing how it goes, is the wind turbines that Dominion wants to put off the coast of Virginia, which I think is fantastic. I actually did a project on wind energy when I was in, what grade did I take? 12th grade, I think, is when I took environmental science. And that was so long ago, guys. That was like 12 years ago. So I'm happy that we're finally getting to this place where we're exploring seriously alternative renewable resources rather than offshore drilling, which, if something, I don't know if y'all were really alive for it, the big spill in the Gulf. If that happened, I mean, COVID's already hit our tourism real bad here. But if something like that happened here, the Navy would probably have to relocate its ships. That means transfers for all those people, or at the very least, a lot of deployments down to Florida. Then we wouldn't have no tourism. Our whole beaches were all covered in oil. But that's an opinion. I'm just saying, after that Gulf spill, I don't necessarily think offshore drilling is the best move. Then the state budget. So in Virginia, we approve a state budget every 2 years. So biennial, ennial is year, bi means 2 year. And it's prepared by the governor, ratified, if you will, by the General Assembly. And then revenue. So in Virginia, we have state income tax, state sales tax, property taxes at the local level, that sort of thing. But yes, we also do get taxed by the federal government. We have all our Social Security tax, our federal income tax. Man, so many taxes. So, Virginia lawmaking process. First, we introduce the bill, can either start in the House of Delegates or the Virginia State Senate. It's read, it's sent to a committee, it's debated on the floor of each house, they vote. If they can't disagree, they come together in committee, Once they agree, they send it to the governor, and he either vetoes, signs it into law, or line item vetoes certain things. And that's the lawmaking process in Virginia. Now, you're going to go back through the PowerPoint and fill out these notes. So you can pause the video here. So you can do that. And then we're going to go over federalism, which should be a fairly quick review. So federalism. So the Constitution established the principle of federalism. Federalism is the division of power between the states and national government. So federalist system just means there's a national government and we have our state governments. We got to listen to both. But remember the supremacy clause, because the Constitution and federal government always win. So federalism is the division of power between the states and the national government. And here we have our wonderful level of government. Our top is the national government because of the supremacy clause, and they always win. We have the legislative branch, which is Congress, the House and Senate. We have the executive branch, which is topped by the president. The judicial branch, which is topped by the Supreme Court. Then we have the Virginia government, which is the General Assembly, House of Delegates, and the Senate, Virginia Senate, topped by the governor, and Virginia Supreme Court. For local government, we have Board of Supervisors or City Councils. Now in Norfolk, it is the City Council. We have a Mayor of Norfolk, and local issues are dealt with by state district courts as provided by state legislation. So the laws the local, brain freeze, the local city councils and the mayor make, they're delegated from the Virginia Constitution. And we'll get a little more into local government in a bit. The Constitution of the United States establishes a federal form of government in which the national government is supreme. But the way the federal government has expanded its power over the years has encroached on what were traditionally state issues. Now, the first biggest and, one thing we all know about that this happened was, of course, the issue of slavery, and that culminated in the Civil War, right? But it all started, and even in some ways, we still teach this false narrative that it was just about states' rights, but it was about states' rights to slavery. So the expansion of the national government's powers into areas traditionally reserved to the states has altered the relationship of states to the national government. So tension exists when federal mandates require state action without adequate funding. So why do tensions exist? Because the federal are laws passed by Congress that order state governments to take certain actions. So one of these examples is federal laws were passed that required government buildings, federal, state, and local, to have access for wheelchairs. But the federal government did not give the states and local governments money to make the change. They had to use this money from their own budget. And if a law comes down from the federal government that doesn't necessarily align with the state's budget, and sometimes states just get hit hard because, stuff happens, like COVID happened. Do you think they're going to get a lot of income tax this year from people who lost their jobs? Heck no. Okay. And just a brief review of federal powers. They conduct foreign policy, regulate commerce, provide for the common defense. Federal powers versus state powers. Federal powers conduct foreign policy, regulate commerce, print money, and provide for the common defense. State powers are public health, public safety, public welfare, including education. Okay, now the powers not given to the national government by the United States Constitution are reserved to the states. But remember the necessary and proper clause, which gives the national government its ability to do anything necessary and proper to carry out their assigned powers. But the 10th Amendment is for the states. It says the powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution nor prohibited by it to the states are reserved to the states, respectively, or to the people. Okay, the Constitution of the United States does deny certain powers to both national and state governments. Denied powers are powers no level of government can use. Now, I want you to think about, what do you think is a denied power of the government? What can't the government do? What can't any level of government do? And if you think of an answer, we'll talk about it next class. We'll have a debate. Now, that's all you've got to do for Thursday or Friday, depending on if it's a odd or even day. So make sure you fill out the notes page for federalism and lawmaking in Virginia, and do the review of the governor, which is the review of the Virginia State Executive Branch. Now, if you have any questions, email me. I'll try to keep my emails, respond to emails, but it depends on how good I am. So I miss you guys. Hope to see you guys soon. Email me if you need me.